invited to hold it up right now, right in front of the camera, so we can all admire. This is National Coffee Day, is what I heard. So it's very appropriate for this meeting. So, and look at Jared's got the butt first coffee. That's unbelievable. Very good. So we want to thank the candidates for coming and for letting us get to know them a little bit better. And really quick, I want to introduce our board president, Mr. Steve Quick.
Morning, everybody. New role for me. Excited to be a part of this, and I'm excited to get to hear everybody and know everybody. I know that everyone has kind of a role in here. There's some ambassadors, but when you do have a chance, your best contact information for Shatrine to be able to put out your contact if anyone has any questions. I do appreciate everybody here. Thank you so very much. And I'm going to hand it now over to Jer, who is the visual timekeeper.
Hey, thanks everybody. We'll do it in alphabetical order. We'll start out with Mary, Rory, Kim. If Leslie shows up, Carrie, Jenny, Tom, and Vicky. If two of those don't have, they'll just be at the end. If everybody would put their information into the chat box so we can have your information, or your contact information, so we can get a hold of you, or anybody else can get a hold of you, and we'll go from there. Okay, back to Bonnie.
Okay, so with that, I think it's time for us to just get started. Yeah, Jer will be running the time on each person, so everyone gets a fair chance to say what they would like to say. And again, we just appreciate it so much that you have come, and we look forward to hearing you. Thank you.
Shatrine, you got the staff announcements real quick before we get started?
Oh, sure. I can do that really quick. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. This is an exciting time. We want you guys to be able to meet the community and share about what your goals are for West Linn, especially in the ever-changing climate that we've got. So I think this is amazing that we have this chance to be together. So thank you for being here. Thank you for letting us share about you, and we're excited to hear about you. So today is, of course, the City Council. Those folks get to share. And then October 6th, next Tuesday, same time, we're going to have the mayoral candidates on there. So we would really look forward to sharing that with the community too. And I see there are quite a few on this morning too. So yay, hi guys. And then following that, October 21st, the West Linn Chamber and actually 8 other chambers are part of a multi-chamber visual networking thing, and it's at 8 a.m. and we hop online. Everything's on our calendar, but we'd love to have you join. It is a mix, and I think last time there must have been about maybe 150 of us jumping from table to table. It's this really cool format, very different, but we'd love to have you join because you get to meet all the different people from around in one room from your own home. It's a very interesting thing, but a very well spent morning. And then we also have on October 21st that night, which is a Wednesday, we have our virtual happy hour that we jump on for an hour and just check in with each other, have really fun West Linn facts that we do, sometimes some contests so you can win some prizes. It's just fun and a time to relax and get to see people around and check in with them. Lastly, I would say, now these are for businesses and all of us. I'm sure you guys saw the city has the second round of COVID help that they've got going on for the grants. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. is the last day that you can submit your stuff. So please, if you have anybody, you know anybody that this could help them, please let them, and they're part of West Linn, please let them know. We want to spread the word so we can get support out there to people who need it. If you just go to westlinnoregon.gov, they've got the application on there, or our Facebook page, or even the city's Facebook page. It has all the information. So we hope that can be helpful, and yay, I'm looking forward to hearing from you all today. Take care.
Thank you, Shatrine. I think that will be very helpful to people. And I'm actually really glad that we got that in, because now we can totally focus on the candidates. Jer, you want to take it from there?
Let's get started. Stephen, you ready? We'll start out with Mary.
1 minute.
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Just hear one down, please. Again.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
My name is Mary Baumgartner, and I grew up in West Linn and have raised my children here and would love a chance to serve on the city council because I have, in the last 3 years since I stopped working as a special education paraeducator in the West Linn School District, I have been throwing all of my energies into community service. I have been involved with the Transportation Advisory Board, Sustainability Advisory Board, and now I'm also serving on Parks and Rec advisories. And in the capacity of serving, I have gotten to meet lots of city staff and elected officials and leaders, but also a lot of excellent business community members. And whether they're people who live or just have a business in West Linn, I know it's very important for all of us to stay connected with each other and listen to each other. When just recently we were working on the Transportation Advisory Board on preparing the community of Willamette for the upcoming construction that we all are so familiar with now. And in that, I was concerned because several community business members that I spoke with didn't seem to know what was going on. So I think communication is one of the key elements that we can all improve on between the city and the businesses. So one of the things, if elected, I would like to make sure to do is have the best communication possible, whether it's with the businesses and each other and how to enhance each other's opportunities, but also so that the businesses know what the city is planning, things that might impact them, like the construction on Willamette Falls. And those are really critical issues, communication, and I'm hoping to enhance that even more if I'm given a chance to serve on council. I've also been very involved in the ODOT projects, whether it's the sound walls that were proposed and attending town halls. I have been, and also of course the tolling now is the new subject on everyone's mind. I'm very concerned about the tolling and am participating as much as I can to, whether it's talking to when they no longer are having in person, but the virtual meetings that they're having, and trying to find out as much as I can and how we can leverage to basically defend our community from the impact of the diversion traffic, and what we can best do to make sure businesses are able to function. I have also spent quite a bit of time talking to county and metro leaders and decision makers regarding transportation funding, whether it's Highway 43 improvements, and trying to make sure that West Linn is spoken for and advocated for, because the importance of the corridor of Highway 43 through West Linn as a very critical artery hub is, I think, not to be overlooked. I also am very interested in the waterfront project and have several ideas about how to enhance the natural setting and bring in environmentalism into a plan so that people could enjoy a beautiful nature area and also have a part that's built up more, maybe more near the bridge, and tie into Oregon City's beautiful project that's coming, and also include the tribal members in that plan, because that's been a concern lately. And I would take any questions. I don't know if there's time for questions.
We'll do the questions at the end.
Oh, thank you. I would also like to mention that I'm running with Ken Pryor, who has amazing business experience, and I'm hoping he can get a chance to get on the call. He's working a lot lately because the fires have impacted what he does with the Oregon Housing Authority, and he's trying to help people in mobile home parks that have burned, and so he's been spending a lot of more time doing that lately. I think that's just about it.
Yes, and I'm going to change it because unless we want everybody to talk for 5 hours, it'll be great. But give me a minute here, please.
I'm sorry I missed that.
What do you say? What do you say, Stephen? You're all set, Stephen?
I said I need to change the timer, please.
Oh, okay. That's good. Okay. Great. Thank you, Mary. Up next will be Rory. And if everybody can kind of keep yourselves muted and unmute yourself as you come on, it'd be great. Rory, go ahead, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rory Bialystowski, candidate for City Council. I just want to take a moment to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting us and for coordinating this event this morning, and greetings to my fellow candidates. I'm a West Linn resident for 15 years, moved here in 2005, attended West Linn schools, and graduated from the high school in 2018. So currently attend Lewis and Clark College remotely and reside in Willamette. Some of you may know me from my work at the high school. I was a public address announcer for the sporting events.
Just give me one moment, please.
I just got muted. The host muted me. Sorry about that.
Hold one second, please.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
I'm still trying to get the timer. I appreciate you guys being on time.
No problem.
Get this all hammered out here. I apologize.
No problem.
And somehow I set it for 5 hours as opposed to 5 minutes.
Is there, I'm sorry to interrupt, is there a password? Ken Pryor just texted that he's trying to get in and is not able to get in.
I had the same issue this morning, Mary, and I had to actually physically log in. So if Ken doesn't have an account set up with Zoom, he'll have to do that first and then access it.
Oh, there he made it.
Finally.
There
Barely.
you are, Ken.
Okay. So are you seeing me at all?
Okay, let's go ahead and start. Thank you very much. Rory, go ahead and start.
Oh, no problem. So once again, name is Rory. Attended West Linn schools, graduated from the high school in 2018, and attend Lewis and Clark College remotely, and reside in Willamette. So some of you may know me from my work at the high school. I was the public address announcer for the sporting events there, and also worked on improving the parking situation for students at the school, which was a success in generating more spots for the students while minimizing adverse impacts on the Bolton neighborhood. So I'm running for city council because I think West Linn needs new, fresh leadership to guide us through these next few years with so many real pressing issues on the horizon. The tolling issue on I-205 is a big one that could greatly impact our livability with the diversion traffic. Enacting police accountability policies in light of the Michael Fesser case that happened here, which hurt all of us, is important to me as well. I'm also very excited about the waterfront project and its potential to bring West Linn another waterfront area for West Linn to enjoy, and potentially another area for business. So if you want to learn more about my vision on those issues, you can visit my website, rory4wl.com. So as someone who grew up here and has been involved in city politics for several years since my high school days, I'm uniquely aware of our community's makeup, priorities, and needs. We need a government that represents all citizens and one that consists of a diverse group of citizens who represent our community's makeup. And we need a government that's efficient, functional, works together to collaborate to make our community a better place. And I think that making our community a better place definitely means lifting up our small businesses. I really want to do what I can to support small business, as I know that our small businesses make up an essential part of our West Linn community. My family and I frequently patronize our local businesses, and I'm very proud of the businesses that we have here. So, and I know that we have businesses with storefront locations, and I also am aware that we have many businesses that operate out of homes, which makes our landscape unique. And I also have been reading that the coronavirus pandemic has had a terrible impact on small business, so supporting them is of the utmost importance to me next year if elected. as we continue our recovery. So I guess I'll turn to answer one of the questions that were sent out, which is, and I'm sure you all are interested in my answer for this, if elected, what specific actions will I take to promote small business as a city councilor in our community? So this has been one of the things that I've been most disappointed with in terms of our current council majority, because I haven't seen them include the economic development and supporting small business in their dealings over the years that I've been involved. I think it's really important for the city to be active in supporting the business community, and that starts to me with listening. I can't pretend to know what you all as business owners need from the city, as you all know your business needs better than anyone else. So I think it's really important to open that dialogue, and I'd love to see the city have a stronger partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. And I'd be happy to also meet individually with any member of the chamber or business owner who'd be willing to share their needs or ways that you feel that the city could better support you. So listening is important, and factoring business owners' input into decisions that have an impact on them is really key. And I'd like to see the city be proactive in their outreach when issues that impact business come up. We saw that with, Mary brought up the Willamette Main Street issue, where a lot of people felt that their input may not have been included, or they didn't even know what was going on. So I think it's important for city to be involved in the outreach. And on that topic, I'd really like to see a city staff member devoted to economic development in the small business community. I think having a business expert in-house to coordinate with you all and assist you all would be really beneficial, so that you'd have a city staff member to reach out to with concerns. And that staff member would work to make our city a better place for business. And I was looking around last night, the day before, thinking about kind of what other cities were doing with business, and I saw that Wilsonville has hired what they call an economic development manager, who's tasked with business outreach and developing those relationships to position their city as a place for long-term business investment. So, and I couldn't help but think about why over in Wilsonville they're able to have that sort of person, and we don't have that here. So I'd love to push for the establishment of an economic development manager here in West Linn, push for greater partnership between the chamber and our city. So I think my time's running out. So thank you for listening to my presentation. And I hope any of you will reach out if you have questions or willing to share your concerns or ways that we can best support you at the city, if elected as a councilor. And I'm eager to be a partner for the chamber in my role. So thank you.
Yeah, right. Kim, you're up next, please.
Okay, I'm going to unmute. And good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Chamber, for hosting this. It was great to be included in a open candidate forum. And for anyone that's joining this morning that is here for the candidates, I invite you to check back on the Chamber, because they've been very active and instrumental in making sure that the small businesses in our community are supported. And small business is the backbone of our community. And they're a really cool bunch of people. So if you come on a non-political morning, I think you'll find it very enjoyable. I did not see questions emailed this morning. I don't know if those were sent out. So if there's any questions, they could be put in the chat. I've got the chat up. My name is Kim Bria, and I'm running for City Council. I'm currently serving as chair of the Transportation Advisory Board, and I'm on the Sustainability Board. And I'm very proud of the work that we've been doing with the city. And why I'm running is, being on those boards, I recognize that advisory board members are in a position of influence to a point, but I'd like to make a greater difference in my community by serving the whole community and amplifying our voice. So that's why I'm running, is because I'm in it. I can see what needs to be done, and I've got the ability and the skills to do that. I've lived in the Willamette area since 1997. I grew up in a small rural community in the Midwest. So transportation and economic development have been a thread through my whole life. And living in a small town, there's very limited economic opportunities, which are completely dependent on transportation. So even though we're in a more urban area, a lot of people in West Linn commute elsewhere for their jobs. And I see economic opportunities that are right here in our backyard that really haven't been, we have a lot of business here, but we could have a much stronger business community with support from the city. And if elected as counselor, that's definitely one of the things that is very important to me, is that we have living wage jobs and support for our community businesses. So I will bring my business, government, and personal experience to improve our community. West Linn and the greater region are experiencing unprecedented growth and challenges. And everybody can feel it. When you leave your house to wherever you're going every day, you can feel the squeeze of the growth in our region. And our city has a voice in guiding the region. We must expand our collaboration to account for West Linn's interests. We need city leaders with vision that can make tough decisions now. I will take a hard stance against tolling, develop a clear vision for economic opportunities, and improve the effective use of city resources. And I will continue to work with stakeholders to improve Highway 43 and other transportation projects, support local businesses and economic development. Very importantly, ensure that West Linn's voice is heard with our regional partners. So to that end, I would be strengthening our local and regional our relationships, because right now we are left out of a lot of conversations and decisions regionally that impact our city. And I will support new policies for police accountability and transparency. People need to feel safe and well served in this community. I'm a change agent with 25 years experience building organizations and public trust by connecting people and finding solutions. I'm a strategic systems thinker, prioritizing and creating the greatest reach and results while maintaining fiscal responsibility. And I have effectively managed regional operating budgets, staff, public works clients, and changing needs. So I have a lot of experience managing government contracts and interfacing with governments, and I understand at the pace that things happen and the relationships that are needed to make that happen. So if elected, I'm in a great position to serve the city. I have the skills and the understanding to do that today, because we have some very pressing issues to maintain our livability. So I ask for your vote, and my information's in the chat box. I have 12 seconds. I'll answer that question at the end.
Well, thank you, Kim. Appreciate it. So up next, we will have Carrie. Leslie didn't show up. So Carrie next, please.
I like Kim, actually.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm Carrie Johnson. I'm running for City Council. I am a mother of 3, a grandmother to 1. I've lived in West Linn now for over 17 years. 2 of my children have graduated from West Linn High School, and my youngest is a senior this year. Crazy year to be a senior. I also co-founded Financial Beginnings in 2005, and that still teaches financial literacy to our middle school and high schoolers right here in West Linn. I'm currently the executive director of North Willamette Valley Habitat for Humanity. And I have experience working directly with municipalities throughout the Northern Willamette Valley, advising on policy and working on projects with city staff. In the last 23 years of my career, serving customers and diverse clients in the nonprofit industry has provided me with skills and insight to serve the public and our communities. I feel like this is something that I can bring to our community. I haven't gotten super involved in our community for certain reasons because of the bad publicity that we've had for many years. I finally decided that it's time to step up since I do have the experience and I want to represent West Linn and make sure the community has a voice in important decisions. I'm also very concerned with our budget and where we're headed. It was just on the meeting on the 21st, looking back, they said that we are still in a $700,000 deficit. And we started the year at a 2.3, I believe, $1 million deficit. And thanks to COVID, we're actually doing better. That's concerning to me. I want to make sure that we have people on our city council and are representing our city and making smart business decisions. I want to represent you with honesty in both my actions. I'm committed to doing the job right and making sure the community is aware of big issues that have big impacts on our community before it's too late. I think community outreach is something that we could do a lot better in our city. You know, people say all the time, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. And by the time our community is involved, it's too late to help change decisions. You know, the tolls on Highway 43 is going to be very concerning. That should have been conversations we were having years ago, not just today. So and one of the things I want to do too is I want to build the relationships between city and industry and city and county. Just as Kim mentioned, we're not invited to the table on a lot of these decisions because of the conflict that our own council has had. I want to represent with positive change. I want to collaborate. I want to make sure that we are building our community. Economic development is very important for the growth of our city. It needs to be done smart. There needs to be a balance. And with the waterfront project, one of the things that I would like to do or like to see, and I did refer back to the 2019 PGE Community Engagement Report. There's some great information in there. We have the opportunity to develop a historic area with new buildings, but renovate and preserve the older buildings that are still safe and viable. We need to maintain West Linn's history, character, and incorporate new business, but with balance of environmental, cultural business, entertainment, and tourism. And this can be done with walking paths, museums, things that'll tell the native history that so many of our West Linn people don't even know about. I think it's important that we really engage our community in these things. There's a lot of opportunity for our community to stand out in our state, but we have to stop with the animosity on our council and start building these relationships and making smart business decisions for our city. The good outweighs the bad. It's keeping us from excelling as a city in our state. So if I'm elected as your city councilor, I will step up and be a voice for the community and make smart business decisions, and most importantly, try to figure out where we're at in this financial situation and get us back on track. I think we need to go back to understanding where our money is going. It was also mentioned that they're looking at outsourcing our local police to Clackamas County. I think that we have a lot of questions to ask before this happens and find out the real reasons why. Is it just a budget cut? Is because of the issues that we've had, unfortunately, with the Fester case? But these are questions that the community needs to be talking about now. So these are my concerns and why I'm running for city council. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them in the next 30 seconds.
We're going to have the questions answered at the end. We'll do a recap.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Carrie. Up next, we'll have Jenny, please.
Great. Well, thank you and good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Chamber for the invitation and to all my fellow residents here this morning. My name is Jenny Cole, and I am honored to be your homegrown candidate for West Linn City Council. I've lived in West Linn for 20 years. I attended elementary through high school. I'm also married to a West Linn native. Running for city council is deeply personal, as I will act with the highest of expectations for myself and for my peers in city government, because this work is for my community, for my family, and for my friends. I deeply oppose the I-205 tolls as they are proposed today. Those tolls will unfairly burden our community and create an access and equity dilemma for our residents. I'm also aware of the proposed jurisdictional transfer of Highway 43 to West Linn. I will be your advocate to ensure that should such a transfer occur, that it is done within the best interests of our city and our small businesses. I'm going to make sure that all residents' voices are heard, including involving Indigenous and Native peoples in the waterfront development project, in addition to all of the public and private partners for that project. I look forward to the multi-use development in that area with possible affordable housing, restaurants, business fronts, community gathering spaces, as well as historical tourism with the Willamette Locks. What makes me unique as a candidate for West Linn City Council is I'm going to bring a vast experience wealth to this council with my background as a public school educator. I've worked in government, and I currently work as a small business operations manager. I've worked in that position in Southwest Portland for the last 5 years. As a manager within small business today, during this pandemic, I intimately understand the challenges that small businesses are facing and how we've had to really curb and innovate to meet the shifts in customer spending and habits. When I enter office in January as your next city councilor, I'm going to hit the ground running to advocate for West Linn small businesses, and I will do that focusing in 3 different areas. First, I will use my background in federal advocacy to elevate the needs and realities of our small businesses with both the state legislature here in Oregon as well as the federal delegation. Next week, for instance, the House of Representatives is going to vote on a bill to provide $120 billion to independent food and drink establishments. Our city needs advocates on our city council who know how to navigate the federal appropriations budgeting and make sure that West Linn gets the fair share of that aid, and I will be that leader for you. Secondly, I believe deeply in community outreach and community support. As your next city councilor, I will listen attentively to all the needs of our small businesses and be your specific small business advocate on the council, as well as working collaboratively across not only the West Linn Chamber of Commerce, but our peers in other cities such as Oregon City, Wilsonville, Tualatin, Lake Oswego, and Portland. Word of mouth recommendations are still a large portion of businesses today, regardless of the pandemic. And by building community advocates in each of these neighboring cities, we can create support across our network to drive business and to have a cooperating and caring community. And third, as your next city councilor, I will use my innate communication abilities to support West Linn small businesses. I'm a people person, and I strive to build meaningful and lasting relationships with everyone that I meet. When I enter office as your next city councilor, I will use my background in cross-marketing and branding to grow networks by developing those meaningful relationships across small businesses. Thank you all for your time today. With my remaining time, I just want to invite you all to visit my Facebook, if you're on it, at Jenny Cole for West Linn, my website, jennyforwestlinn.com. Please email me any questions you might have outside of this. I respond to everybody personally. It's me, it's a real human being responding. And I really look forward to working for my hometown and my city as your next city councilor. Thank you all very much for your time.
Mute, Jared. Jared. Jared, you're muted.
I'm sorry. If everybody can be sure again to put your information in the chat box, best way to get a hold of you. Thanks again, Jenny. And up next we have Tom. Tom, go ahead.
Thanks for the invite and good morning. I'm Tom Meyer. I'm running for City Council. I am a retired IT executive. I have been in West Linn since 2009 and have been active in primarily the Parks Department, but also as a member of the Parker Crest Neighborhood Association. I have a vision for West Linn that looks something like this: a park system safe and free of carcinogens in which you can find rest and breathe easy without fear of contracting cancer. A city hall that is run like a private corporation with attention to cost-benefit ratios, project benchmarks, timelines, dependencies, deadlines, and budgetary constraints. A city in which citizen input is treasured, listened to, and inclusive. A city in which public officials are truly servants of the electorate. A city dedicated to the principles of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, where people can maximize their God-given talent. A city that believes in the motto on each of our coins, "In God we trust." A city where all are treated equally, regardless of race, creed, or color. A city in which love thy neighbor is the first bylaw of every neighborhood association and practiced religiously. A city in which a neighbor's concerns and needs are considered equal to your own. I'd like to begin by addressing the third question. What's your vision for the West Linn waterfront project? The waterfront has all the possibilities of creating a boon, not only for all types of small businesses, such as restaurants, entertainment, and other service-oriented businesses, but also a tax revenue generator for West Linn. While we have a population that enjoys and treasures our park system, it could be much more if the water recreational possibilities inherent in an active waterfront could be added to those that already exist along the shared waterways that surround our city. It's a dream that may slip away with the ongoing attempt to use city go-bond funds and partner with the private coalition seeking to rehabilitate the now vacant City Hall Police Building. But it could be easily resurrected with a solely private endeavor along with county or metro tourism grants. I found private industry to be much more effective in bringing such projects to completion in a timely, competitive, and more efficient manner. I like the idea of building on the rich natural and cultural history of West Linn and its relationship to the environment, particularly the Willamette River. The second question, transportation tourism. Until the city is fortunate enough to be included in some mass transit program, I'm a big believer in shared electric car ownership. I have an electric car. I believe the city should model this program by building an EV network citywide by partnering with private EV charging partners eager to build out a city presence, similar to the effort completed in Lake Oswego by Tesla. Once the network is completed, EVs will be shareable for all citizens like taxis, as autonomous vehicles make rides as effortless and inexpensive as ordering contactless meals or online supplies. As we work to minimize traffic, such things as tolling and parking become less obtrusive. Our city becomes a more eco-friendly and a greener reflection of what we as Oregonians wish to stand for in the bottle recycling, expansive coastlines, and chemically free lives we purport to live and model for the state and our nation. And the first question is, small businesses are the lifeblood of our economy. They account for about 45% of GDP. They likewise account for 42% of US payroll dollars. I work very closely with the City Economic Development Committee to bridge the gap and foster better relationships between the business community and the city's EDC. I also work to enhance the relationship between the West Linn Chamber of Commerce and the neighborhood associations in West Linn, and encouraging them to support local businesses. I'm especially knowledgeable of the problems of a small business owner, having in retirement embarked on a number of entrepreneurs, businesses. My passion for wellness and sports advocations in tennis and pickleball have likely evolved into a small business in supplying hardware and pickleball lessons, as well as volunteer efforts in building pickleball venues in West Linn and surrounding cities, while promoting pickleball tournaments to drive tourism and small business revenues in West Linn. And just as the federal government through the CARES has helped small businesses navigate the aftermath of COVID, I will push for further endeavors by the city of West Linn and Clackamas County to advocate legislation similar to the Federal Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and the Paycheck Protection Program. Finally, as a successful community of businessmen, I believe we have a solemn duty and obligation of caring not only for the hurting members of our small business community, but also of ameliorating the economic condition of the poor and less fortunate members of our community. In retirement, I've been actively involved with the food banks, Habitat for Humanity, and witnessed the joy of sharing with the less fortunate members of our community. I hope never to lose its attachment to those like myself who have risen from the impoverished families, where ere but for the grace of God go I. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Up next, we'll have Ken. Ken, are you on?
I believe I am. I'm having a technical difficulty this morning and lost a lot of the presentation, but sure, I'm ready to give it a go.
Go right ahead.
Sure. Well, I'm Ken Pryor, and I'm running for City Council. I'm a California transplant. I've been in West Linn 15 years now, and almost from the day that I became a resident of West Linn, I became involved in planning and land use. My home abuts the Savannah Oaks Nature Preserve, and at the time it was under question and whether or not apartment buildings will be built on the Candler West. So I've been involved almost from day one. That's pretty normal for me, basically. Coming from San Jose, I lived in a urban neighborhood that was, their neighbors were San Jose State University. There was a Job Corps Center, and there was the normal kinds of issues you have when you're in a university setting with parking and debris left in the neighborhoods. And it took a while to get those issues under control, but as a neighborhood, we did all that. The city put up parking regulations. The university found a vacant large lot for parking, provided a shuttle bus. Our kids in the neighborhood were allowed to attend all the advanced placement courses through the university, and they had use of all the swimming and exercise facilities of the university during the summer, as well as access to the library. So I know what it takes to be engaged. And I was pleased that there was neighborhood associations when we arrived here in West Linn. I come from a background of sales, definitely probably more leaning to international. I spent probably 15 years in international sales, running from Sydney to Seoul, London, and Tel Aviv. Managed a group of 65 or so people with corresponding budgets and targets of $50 million. I can tell you that it's a lot easier to spend $50 million than it is to sell it and raise $50 million in revenue. But that has been my stock and trade. I do it through what I've come to realize is a data-driven decision making, basically installing key performance indicators and working with your partners on an agreement on a basis of win-win, and understanding how the partnership works, identifying critical issues and monitoring them as they come. I too am a little bit worried about some of the discord within the council, but I would remind everyone that the one constant player, or a couple of the constant players through this whole process, going back years, has been what I believed an inept, malevolent city managers at times, and or the staff. That doesn't mean that the staff or city managers definitely having an issue, other than what is most prevalent is that there is a lack of communication and a breakdown of communication, and people aren't sharing that information. It's been my experience when you can develop metrics, measurements that people can agree on that have a common goal to achieve, you're most likely to get those results, and you'll get those results willingly, showing people how their contributions are listened to. And that's kind of the way I operate. I try to look at things objectively. I think a lot can be done to assist the business community with sort of a neighborhood yellow pages. What businesses are there? Where can you get dry cleaning done in the city? Who's a good plumber? Those kinds of things you can build into a directory, have a great IT department. So it's a matter of expanding that outreach and getting inputs and engaging people of all stripes in the city, and making sure people are talking together on the same page. That's what I have to say about myself. And with 5 seconds left, are there any questions? I'm happy to answer.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. Turn it back over to Citrine for some last minute thoughts here. Citrine, you on?
I am. I just want to make sure, I think everybody got through. That was wonderful. You guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We know how important each minute of the day is, so we greatly appreciate your time. We are looking forward to sharing. We want to share your goals and visions with our community. So we are going to share this broadcast along with your information. So if you haven't had a chance, please put all your information in the chat box. So then when we send out our emails, when we put stuff on Facebook, we can let folks know, hey, this is how you can reach these candidates and ask them more questions and or support, whatever, just to get the word out there so people can know who you are, and ask some more questions if they've got it. So that is where we're at. We are really looking forward to next week as well, to wrap up the candidates meet and greet with the mayoral candidates. So please share. We'd love to see you all there as well. I do believe we have, let me see what time it is. Oh, we've got 15 minutes. So I think we're going to do some Q&A. Is that correct, Stephen?
You're going to do a Q&A. The response will be 1 minute long. There are some questions that are in the chat box.
Okay.
If you want to answer those, you can, or you can answer the questions that we have given you guys to begin with. But the response time will be 1 minute per question answered. Okay?
Okay.
Daryl, you filled up, please?
Pull out the chat box.
There were some questions in the chat box.
Let's see. Got one here, says, how would you support the renovation of Robinwood Station? We can start off with, anybody wants to take that right away?
I'll take it.
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Thank you very much. I would very much like to emphasize the importance of neighborhood associations and any possible community centers that, whether they exist already or anything that we could create as a community center for the smaller areas within each community. The Robinwood Station in particular has worked very hard to create a space that is a good setting and serves not just their own community, but also anyone in the West Linn area who wants to utilize that facility. And I believe that they have also created a design to make some improvements to their building, and I would definitely support the funding for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Anybody else? Can you do that?
I'd be happy to chime in.
Go ahead.
So
Great.
actually, most of the time that I've lived here in West Linn, I've actually lived down in the Cedar Oak area. And I will say that that building does have a lot of community benefit, and it's used as a event space for a lot of birthdays and things that we don't have here in West Linn. And I think it's important that we preserve that, as well as the community garden is very important. It's bringing our communities together. That area down there definitely feels like a little bit of a stepchild. They don't get a lot of attention for resources. And I think it is important that we invest in all of the different areas in West Linn. Every little neighborhood needs something. And that neighborhood has that fire station that's able to bring them together, and whatever we can do to keep building that community involvement, I think we should support.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else like to talk about that? That's fine.
Yes, I'd like to add something.
All right.
I've actively been involved with the neighborhood association, and I've watched some of these contracts that are written by the city, and it's seemingly done without any cost benefit analysis. And it's almost as if we have an unlimited supply of money. And I've seen contracts that are without any form of neighborhood association approval. If you look at the recent hubbub about Skyline Ridge, you realize that the Parks Department isn't playing by the rules of the game. And, you know, I've seen these contracts that are seemingly left to private contractors. And I think you have to get to the point where you have to do a rigorous cost benefit analysis before you let these contracts. To me, it may be a wise cause and a good cause, but you have to really look at the cost benefits. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to make a comment or?
I'd like to address the issue about Savannah Oaks and the adjacent property that I think Elizabeth submitted.
Okay, go right ahead.
Well, essentially, I believe that there should be public-private partnerships, and that's an area where you could have a senior or assisted or VA-assisted living environment, partnering with a partner that would probably do most of the maintenance, but the city take an active part in a partnership and ownership, and rather than letting developers have a total control of how the city develops, exert its own power and begin to establish things that are beneficial, that the city can take pride in and have possibly a source of additional revenue, and take the initiative to put something in that space that would be conducive to small businesses in the small shopping center across adjacent to the Savannah Oaks, and that, I guess it would be Tanner West, what people would call it. But it's an ideal situation for a controlled community, not with a lot of traffic and driving, but you'd have the park that's adjacent to all of that as just a meeting place. I think it's a natural place to meet, and the city getting involved with the Chamber of Commerce and the business community to put something there that will draw people. And I think that going forward.
See, we get somebody. Anybody want to comment on that real quick, and we'll give you a minute to do it. And if any candidates want to comment on that. Okay, nobody has a comment on it. Okay, that's fine. Savannah Oaks is a new area that looks like it's going to be developing soon, and depends on who, and it's probably a lot of stuff we need to look at. So, any last comments for anybody?
Got one from Derek.
Okay.
The candidates like to address that.
I'm happy to talk about Derek's question about the back-end parking and small businesses in Willamette,
Okay.
if I may. Thank you, Derek, for that question. I frequently visit historic Willamette, and I've been watching very closely the construction going on Willamette Falls. It was pretty surprising to me personally about the back-end parking, because that was a city council unanimous decision without input from the citizens. And that's first and foremost one thing I would change as your city councilor is, first and foremost, we need community outreach. The city council is not, all be all unto itself. And as a resident and hopefully a forever resident of West Linn, I want to make sure that our community knows what's going on. I know some of our candidates have alluded to earlier, just people not knowing what's going on, and then it just happens. And so we need to do kind of a needs assessment in that area of how we can change the parking to work for all of our citizens so that these surprises don't happen again in the future.
Thank you. Anybody else on that?
I'll add one thing. I just think that, I agree with what Jenny said, and going forward, I think the back-end parking is there, and it's been concerning to me to see, yesterday I went down there and I saw it was full of people that were parking front end. So they were still just parking the old way. So I think we need to really see how it goes, look into it, and be prepared to take action if the business community or the community at large doesn't like the parking situation down there. So I'd be open to continuing the discussion. If elected, I won't be sworn until January, but so until January, if it goes poorly, then we'll definitely be willing to take a look at that and switch it back around.
Thanks, Roy. Somebody has a question here. What's everybody's thought of the new middle school down on Dollar? Anybody want to take a shot at that one?
Well, I can contribute a little bit to that because I've been very involved as the secretary of the Willamette Neighborhood Association and also a next door neighbor to the new school because we live in Arbor Cove. I have been listening to a lot of neighbor input, and we had a meeting that the school district was a guest at, a neighborhood association meeting, and our normal attendance is about 10 to 15 people. We had 150.
Wow.
And so people are really interested and concerned. The biggest concern I see is traffic with the diversion potentially from tolling. There's already an overburden on Willamette Falls Borland Road that I could see being really untenable. So I am continuing to do what I can to communicate with the school district to really think hard about the viability of that school placement.
Thanks. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
I would just like to echo what Mary said. My spouse is a teacher in district at Wilsonville High School, so I'm intimately aware of kind of the long-term planning going on with the school district, and what we need are collaborative teams between not only the West Linn City Council, but also the Wilsonville City Council to work together with the West Linn Wilsonville School Board to find areas that will minimize impact upon the livability of our neighborhoods, just like in Willamette, but also thinking about Orland as well. There's proposed renovations of Athey Creek, turning it into a high school and then building another school elsewhere. So we need to really have strong partnerships to make sure that our community voices are heard, that are going to best serve the growth of our communities and our children, as well as making sure that we continue to love West Linn as a place to live and not be just beholden by traffic diversion and just inaccessibility overall.
Great, thank you. Anybody else with thoughts on that, or?
Yeah, I'll just add one.
Go ahead.
As a potential land use judge on the issue, it's hard for me to opine on the merits, but I will say that I live in the neighborhood. I live on Nicole Drive, so the Dollar Tree property is literally right behind my house. So I'll be very interested in making sure that our neighborhood's concerns are addressed in the land use process. So, but I appreciate the question, Rebecca, and I'm concerned about the impact on the neighborhood. So I'll work to make sure we get the best deal possible on it. Thank you.
Okay. Have anybody else?
Well, I do have an issue. I'd like to understand the actually the more of the details. It's not clearly understood if the proper numbers were used to justify the bond for the new school when our schools as a whole are losing population. That seemed to be a decision that was out of sync with facts on the ground. And to make matters worse, it's understood that the school district had funds of its own that it could have used if it wanted to create another school without going out for a bond. So I have a question about that process, and I'd like to understand it clearly.
I have to agree with you, Ken. It seems like any bond that's put on the ballot relative to education passes without due debate and consideration. Again, cost benefit. Without full utilization of the Athey Creek Middle School, why was it necessary to even consider building another school? You just have to be really careful.
Well, I'd like to understand how that decision was made and how there was confusion as to which numbers were used in the analysis. There are enough incidents that have happened over the years in West Linn where you get the feeling the town is becoming shovel ready for development, like it or not. And those things need to be clarified and rumors dismissed.
I would just like to say, I have to agree with you, gentlemen, and that's a big part of our issue is the due diligence isn't being done behind these projects and the feasibilities and making sure it fits our community and what our community needs. And that's a big part of our issue right now with our city.
You can see that reflected in the Go Bond issue itself, $20 million that was basically funded without any projects delineated for those monies. And today we have projects that are still not completed or not even begun. And the taxpayers are paying interest on bonds that are sitting in savings accounts that aren't even earning what we're paying. So it's a, you know, you have to get to the point where you run this city like a corporation, and it's not being done.
Well, just to be a little bit more, governments aren't run like corporations. They don't require a definite return on investment. They don't necessarily have to make a profit. And that's where the decision making is done. And to justify, not everything is going to be profitable. So I don't like to hear people say, run things like a business. But there are, you know, soft dollars or soft benefits that have to be considered. And I think that there should be no surprises. Sometimes you're operating with time frames and you're trying to just get a bid in and you fully haven't defined it. So some of that's understandable, but as a rule, there shouldn't be any surprises for citizens in terms of projects and priorities.
I'm gonna step in here. Lisa has a question. How do you see fit? How do you see sustainability fitting in all the decisions and future work of the city of West Linn? Who would like to take that on?
I would love to take that on. I have been working with Clackamas Climate Action Coalition and with my work on the Sustainability Advisory Board. My goal is sustainability overall, and that all the decisions that the city is making be looked through a climate lens, because we all have to take into account the impacts that we are having on the climate and that we are then suffering as a result. And all businesses and all people's activities will be impacted if we have an unlivable climate, as we have just recently witnessed. And I thank Lisa for that question and all of her work that she's done with recycling and the volunteer hours that she has spent trying to get the word out and support quietly the importance of sustainability.
It's not only climate change. You look at the West Linn Parks system, and they're using glyphosates in our park system. That's a known carcinogen. California has it on the known list of carcinogens, and yet I've been unable to get an agenda item on the Parks Advisory Board or the City Council to deal with the presence of glyphosates, which have contributed to the cancer that I now have.
Anybody else?
I'd like to address the sustainability. And yes, as far as fitting into the decisions, it's part of all the decisions of the city. I'm very proud of what the Sustainability Board has just is submitting to the council for the council goals. There's been a lot of work been done quietly for many years, and it's time to implement them. So we're submitting to have a staff person at the city for sustainability, because we're running a very lean staff, and the ability to implement and respond to funding opportunities outside the city are not there without that support. So it's a very important aspect. Particularly, we were finishing this as we're all choking on air outside from the wildfires. So, and it impacts our businesses, it impacts our livability, but it is the backbone of the decisions, part of one aspect of the decisions of the city.
All right. I think that's about our time of the day, and thank for everybody coming and participating and all your answers. And it's great to see everybody and put faces to everybody's name, and it's great here, and hope to see you guys around town and stuff. We will have this, our chats will be available on our website, and we have this recorded, and we'll be putting that up shortly, and so everybody can have that. All the questions are on the chat site, will be available that way too. So thank you guys very much for coming. And is there any last comments anybody has? Be sure to put them in chat now, and so we can save those. So,
Katrine, you're going to say these questions, so in case the candidates would like to answer them in a little more depth, they can.
Correct. Yes, I'll be sending out these to everyone. So if you want to respond, I know we've got some specific folks that asked individuals questions. I don't want you to miss out on that, or we don't want you to miss out on that. So we'll make sure we get that to you.
Appreciate everybody being on today.
thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Stay cool. It's going to be hot this week, you know, and so we'll hope to see everybody around town, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. Take care.
Well done.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Have a
You
great
too.
week, Jenny.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, here we go. Yeah. Okay, we're about done here. I'll just end it up here. Okay. we'll talk to you guys soon. See you later, Citrine. If you got any questions, Citrine, Montana, it's good to see you. Bonnie, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good job, everybody.
Good job,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.